I mean, granted, probably not all of them are, like, supremely active, but, you know, that's the number of people that decided to join my Discord server. Which is a fuck ton.
Yeah. That's 1,000 people with individual lives.
Right? And I'm already surprised I got 13,000 of them subscribed to me.
Yeah. Me too.
Why would they subscribe to me when there's such quality content over on Reno's channel?
I don't really care about my thumbnails. I don't really care about my videos. That's really sad to say.
I can tell. No, I'm just imagining you, like, getting ready to, like, record a voice line. Or, like, just, like, recording it, like, in-game. Like, before you press the push to talk, you're like, excuse me. And then you press, like, you just start talking. Like, excuse me.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. Hello gentlemen and gentle ladies, my name is Sir Stanger, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I feel like needs to be talked about because it's been talked about by some people, but it hasn't really been spread around all that much. And I do really think it's an interesting conversation that we need to have about the TF2 community because I feel like it's really going to decide which direction the game TF2 goes from here on into the future and kind of what sort of tone we're going to be setting for the future of the game. And that topic being if we should have any sort of skill or ranking system in casual to help try and make games a bit more balanced so that way we don't just have one team of mostly experienced players versus one team of mostly inexperienced players going against each other. Now this is a really interesting idea because for sure we have some sort of balancing issue going on within the game right now. I think most of us can probably say with a relative amount of comfort that a lot of games we go into feel unbalanced in one way or another. Either we end up on a team that's really good and doesn't need our help, or we end up on a team that couldn't be helped by literally Jesus himself coming down and telling the other team to stop pushing the cart. And of course, not all games are like this. Some games end up being really balanced and a lot of fun, and everybody enjoys themselves, and yada yada yada, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the ones that aren't that way. And if you haven't been having any unbalanced games, then, you know, good for you. I'm really happy for your TF2 experience that is doing so well. However, especially in my personal experience, I've seen a plethora of unbalanced games, and I do not feel like I'm the only one. So that's what we're going to talk about. My personal opinion on this matter is that the game should have some sort of idea where your general skill level is at before you enter a game. And I'm going to explain why that is, and I'm also going to give some counter-arguments to that just to kind of give all sort of perspectives on this particular idea. But I really want to know what you guys think down in the comments section, so definitely, you know, leave your own opinion down there. I want to know what you guys think about this. But we're going to hop right into this and see where we can really take this. Maybe we can improve the game. Who the hell knows? Alright, hit me with that transition card. Would introducing a skill level system ruin the casual aspect of casual mode? This is a real topic of concern for a lot of people, and I understand why. To a lot of people, TF2 is not a competitive game, and it's simply a game that you go into to kill people every once in a while, maybe go friendly, maybe trade hats, who the hell knows, but you're really not going into it to try hard all that much. After first introducing some sort of skill ranking or something like that, I'm sure these people will be wondering, well great, now I have to worry about having a skill ranking. Either A, I have to care about my skill ranking and try and make sure that it stays good, so that way I'm always in some sort of good game, or B, now I'm going to be in a server full of a bunch of tryhards because they all care about their skill ranking. Again, this is understandable. One fairly common misconception about including some sort of skill ranking system in casual would be that it would be something visible to the player, and I don't necessarily think that needs to be the case. It's basically impossible to say for certain how it would look like in a final form, but in my personal opinion, if they were to introduce some sort of skill ranking into the casual mode, I believe that it would be something mostly invisible to the player, something that they wouldn't really be able to see, but an invisible number that the game assigns to you to kind of denote how good you are at the game. And indeed, for casual to remain casual, that number would need to stay invisible. We already have enough people who are claiming to be really good simply because they have a higher level than somebody else, even though that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's really just an arbitrary color that they have next to their name. This would be made even worse if people could actually quantify their skill in a number and compare it to somebody else's, which would allow them to basically directly say, I am better at this game, and this game agrees with me. Something like this would be expected in the game's competitive mode, but that's the whole point of the competitive mode, is to try and prove that you're better than other people. Not casual. Casual is a place where you should be going to learn, have fun, and maybe just fuck around for a bit. Another thing we'd have to admit is that a skill ranking system like this would take a long time to fine-tune and get down just right, because there's so many aspects of TF2 that the game can't really quantify as your skill level, but would really kind of play into how good you actually are at the game. And unfortunately, it isn't just as easy as going, well, what's his average score per game? Because that can really fluctuate between games, and your effectiveness based upon your score is not always the most accurate depiction of how your actual skill is. Granted, if you're on the top of the scoreboard most of the time, then you can probably safely say that you're at least above average at the game. However, this wouldn't always be the case. Let's go ahead and pretend for a moment that I'm actually good at playing Spy. If that were the case, and I were to go up against a Pyro player on the other team who's perhaps a better Pyro player than I am a Spy player, he would counter me extremely hard, and killing me left and right and basically preventing me from doing anything. My score in-game would suffer from that, and I would look as though I'm much worse at the game than I probably actually am. Scenarios like this are not terribly uncommon, and getting a low score doesn't always mean that you're not doing a very good job. It can sometimes just mean that the enemy team is doing a much better job at keeping you in check than you are at doing the same to them. Creating a skill system that could recognize something like this would be extremely difficult and would take a very long time and a lot of fine-tuning, something that much smarter people than me would have to try and figure out. But even so, if this invisible in-game skill number didn't directly reflect your exact skill level all that well, I don't think it would be that big of an issue as long as it was generally close, because all we're really trying to do here is generically balance the game and make it so casual games don't feel quite like a one-sided thing all the time. When implemented into casual, this number would be taken into account as to who it should be placing you against on the other team, which brings me to my next point. Does this mean that everyone on both teams would be the same skill level? Now, to me, this brings up a really interesting question that I really want to know your guys' opinion on down in the comments, so definitely stick with me on this one. If TF2 knew definitively how good you were at the game thanks to a skill number, should it pair you up against other players who were only at the same or similar skill number? Now, without a doubt, if it were to do something like that and place you in a game with only people of the same or similar skill number, you would end up with some insanely balanced games. In fact, in my opinion, potentially a little bit too balanced. At its core, TF2 is a game about two teams fighting off against each other, and at the end of the day, those two teams need to have a victor. Somebody needs to win, and somebody needs to lose. Now, in a game mode like Payload, there is a definitive amount of time that the game can go on, and one team must lose and one team must win in that amount of time. So this doesn't really apply to that game mode in particular. This is really more towards like 5 CP and probably capture the flag. Game modes like that can really kind of go on indefinitely. Now, with two teams of equal skill level going up against each other, I could see there being a lot more instances of stalemate going on within TF2. Games that last for hours and hours because neither team is able to make any progress on the other. They're just too closely matched in skill level. And this is also a little bit of a personal point, but I feel like it would take away a bit of the charm from the game and trying to figure out which players on the enemy team are good at the game and which players are bad, who you can kind of mess around with and who you can't even fuck with a little bit, otherwise they'll tear you to pieces. So in my personal opinion, I would say no. I don't think it would be very much fun to have only experienced players playing against experienced players and only inexperienced players playing against inexperienced players as well. Instead, I propose a system that gathers skill levels from all parts of the spectrum, both new and experienced players fighting against each other. This creates an environment in which new players are able to learn right next to more experienced players what it is that they're doing, rather than just being next to other free-to-plays who also have no idea how to play the game. This would also provide an experience for players who are more towards the middle or higher end of the skill spectrum to not feel like every single person they're about to face is just a master at MGE and a main in the class that they're playing all the time. And this all just kind of feeds into the cycle of constantly improving at the game. If you're not playing against players who are better than you, you're never really going to learn how to play the game any better. And if you're not playing against players who are worse than you, well, you'll never really get to see where you came from. And also the game will become kind of unfun since every single player that you go up to fight will be basically just as good as you are. I'm sorry, newer players, you're fun to kill. I hate to say it, but it's part of what keeps bringing me back to casual all the time, is it really is fun to just kind of be better than newer players sometimes. I don't want to MGE all the time. I don't want to constantly be fighting really experienced players and giving it my all just to succeed. Every once in a while, I just want to shoot some people and they die, and that's all that I really want out of it. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh to say, but casual is casual, and personally, I don't want to feel like every person I'm about to go up and fight, I'm going to have to sweat and work my absolute hardest just to not die from them. Not that I'm the greatest at this game either. There are plenty of players out there who could absolutely stomp me into the dust. And don't go lying to yourself. Everybody likes the good easy kill every now and again. It's a lot of fun sometimes to just go out and waste some people that don't know what they're doing. I also don't really feel too bad about it, just because the only way that these newer players are ever going to improve is if they actually play against other players who are significantly better than them, or at least a little bit better than them, so that way they can see where they need to be going, what kind of direction they need to be moving in, and the tactics that will actually win them games. Alright, so I know what you're thinking. Sir Stanger, you're a genius. You've fixed all of our balance problems within casual. All we need to do is listen to all your ideas all the time. And my friend, you are mostly right. However, no system is perfect as much as I might try and make it so, and thusly we would need to bring in some sort of system that would be able to balance matches mid-game. And yes, I'm talking about bringing back the dreaded auto balance, something that I know a lot of people wouldn't want to see come back. However, it's been complained about that it's left ever since it's been gone and casual was introduced, and it's kind of one of those we didn't really know what we had until it's gone type of moments. Now, for those of you who are not aware as to what actual auto balance is, I will inform you. Auto balance is what we had before the Meet Your Match update, in which, you know, on Valve servers you would go on, and every once in a while the server would decide that the game is going too much in favor of one team, and so it would start moving players from one team to the other by force to make sure that the game was staying relatively balanced. Not many people liked auto balance back when it was around, but it's still something that to this day we seem to kind of miss because of the casual problems that we're having these days and the fact that the balance just seems to be so out of control. People didn't like auto balance for obvious reasons. You'd be playing the game, enjoying yourself, maybe totally destroying the enemy team, and then suddenly you're put on that team that you were just sticky bomb camping, and now you have to try and figure out how to get your way out of this shit show that you were just absolutely annihilating. It's pretty understandable why people didn't like that very much. However, looking at the alternative as to what we have now, I think I can safely say that I'd much rather have auto balance back. However, not quite in the same form that it was in before. I think we could have a smarter auto balance system that handpicks people a little bit more specifically to help try and move the balance a little bit more towards the team who's losing and help try and prevent them from losing quite so hard. Also, I wouldn't mind it if it threw a little bit of bonus XP in the pool for you, because, I mean, they already have that now where you can voluntarily change teams. However, I think it would be nice if for you, you're going to be automatically balanced to the other team. It's only fair that it gives you a little bit more XP for having to put up with that shit, so, maybe throw that in there as well. But in my opinion, auto balance is a necessary evil in order to make sure that games remain fair and balanced and fun to play. In my personal opinion, I would like to see some new rules added to auto balance, such as maybe people who are partied up together don't necessarily get auto balance, but will be asked instead if they'd like to change teams. Since they are grouped up with a party, it's only fair. And some sort of rule that would try and eliminate too many people being auto balanced immediately at the end of a game, because we have so many clips on YouTube of people who, back when auto balance was still a thing, would be changed teams right as their team won. And so they would move on over to the enemy team and they would lose despite having the fact that they actually just basically scored the winning point for the other team. But anyway, you guys, that's just my opinion on how we can try and make casual a bit more balanced, including some sort of skill system which takes the average skill level of both teams and makes sure that they're relatively even, to try and make sure that every single game is at least fun and fair to play. But I really want to know your guys' opinion on this. Do you guys feel like we should have any sort of skill system at all? Do you guys feel like if we did have a skill system, should it make everyone in the game the same skill, or should it be taking the average skill level from both teams and pitting them against each other? And should we, dare I say it, bring back auto balance? I want to hear your guys' opinions on it down in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. A super quick shout out to the donations that I've received since my last video. Thank you guys so much for donating. I really appreciate it. And with that, let's keep the internet classy. I'll see you then. Hello, my name is Sir Stanger. Hello, my name is Sir Stanger. Hello, my name is Sir Stanger. Hello,
can I have the attention of the internet?
My name
for 1 second.
My name is Sir Stanger.